Simo, are you ready? You're gonna be the.
Am I?
You're gonna be the first victim of my newest creation. I haven't done a video like this before, but I plan to inflict it on all of my friends, starting with you.
I don't know if I should be honored or horrified.
Yes.
Knowing it's you, I should be horrified, most likely. So
yes.
Bring it on.
All right. I'm calling this the CovertGoSalt game. Name pending. Feel free to leave me suggestions.
You better trademark that before someone else does.
You have learned a lot about what's banned in Commander. And in doing so, you've learned a lot about what Commander players don't like.
Okay.
Right? So, like, there's a lot of, like, faux pas. We've talked about the social experience, right? You don't play Armageddon, right? Land destruction is taboo. You remember this, right?
Yes.
So we have, because our game is amazing, we have websites of many different kinds designed around the various aspects of the game. And one of my favorites is called EDHREC. EDHREC compiles data from across the internet on Commander deck building. And they give you basically stats about what kind of cards people play in their Commander decks. So you can look up any commander and you can see EDHREC's like most played cards in that archetype, which is nice. What they also do that I love is they have what's called the SALT scale. And the SALT scale? Yep, the SALT score. So they have their users submit, like, rate what cards they hate the most. And they compile an annual SALT score for every card, and they have them ranked. So there is, in fact, according to EDHREC, a saltiest card in the game. You are going to try to, as closely as possible, gauge what a card's SALT score is, and I'll explain exactly how. I don't know what cards you're going to rank today. I am going to punch into the random number generator a number, and it's going to spit out a card, and I'm going to show you that card. You're going to try to guess the SALT rank of that card by the community. So you're going to guess it. We're going to stick to the top 100 for now. So the number is going to be a
number between 1 and 100.
1 and 100. The card is somewhere between 1 and 100.
So there is a chance we hit the saltiest card in Commander.
Yep.
There's a chance.
There is. 100% there is. So we're going to, we're going to randomly find you a card. We're going to give it to you from the top 100, and you're going to try to guess its SALT rank. Then
Yu-Gi-Oh needs a SALT score. Oh my God.
The number you are off, like for every digit that you are off of the score in any direction goes to your score. Your total score after 10 cards is your score for this video. And then we see if some of my other friends can beat your score. And we're going to make a SALT champion. It's going to be great. And you're going to get
a trophy? Is it going to be a giant salt shaker?
Yes, there will 100% be a 2025 CovertGoSalt game trophy. Definitely. I can't.
We have to we have to do it like the Stanley Cup, where not the one that people drink out of, but the one in hockey where we have to engrave our name on it and ship it to the person each year when we do this.
I honestly think that's a great idea. I'll totally go for it. And the thing is, I have to punch buttons accurately to actually pull these up.
But I don't know.
It's asking a lot, right?
This might be a train wreck already.
No, don't worry. This is my very first time doing this, and I've already found your first card, and it's gonna be so much fun. Here. And remember, the rank is 1 to 100, and you can ask some questions. I will tell you up front, before we even begin this, a few things that affect it. Number one, obviously, the card's effect, how nasty it is. Number two, its rarity. How easy is it to get this card? Because think about it. How can Commander casual players rank a card they've never played? So if these cards are...
Serve list stuff, for instance, because it's harder to obtain, it's less likely to occur, so it's harder to rank.
It is likely that cards that are not as popular in reserve list haven't been seen as often, so it might lower their rank. So you can ask questions about when was this printed? Is this reserve list? And rarity. So like, you know, obviously rares and mythics usually have powerful effects, but a common is going to be seen way more often than a mythic rare if that comes up.
Interesting.
So yeah. Yep. So you can read the card, but also feel free to ask questions kind of about the availability of the card, if that makes sense.
You know what's fun about this for you? You could have other Magic people do this. I know typically we do these with like me and Raren, but like you could have Voxy or other Magic people play this as well, which I think is a lot of fun.
Oh, I am definitely making Voxy do this. She recently got Mythic and Standard because I did some coaching sessions. This is going to be her. This is how she's going to pay for those lessons.
Okay, cool.
All right, number 1. Oh, I'm so excited.
What the hell is this? Hokori Dust Drinker. That's a name. 2 and 2 white. It's a spirit, legendary creature, so this could theoretically be a commander. 2/2. Lands don't untap during their controller's untap stat. This is already infuriating. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player untaps a land he or she controls. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player untaps a land he or she controls. So, if I'm understanding this right, if you tap out, if this is on the board, since there's 4 of you, you're going around in a circle, but each upkeep, then you can untap a land. So like hypothetically, then you're getting 4 lands a turn to use.
Actually, no, it's only that player untaps a land.
That player. Oh,
yep.
Ooh, okay.
This is one land per player on their upkeep. Yep.
It's funny you corrected me because I was going to reread that because I thought we're talking top 100 here. These have to be some of the most annoying cards ever.
Oh,
and you're saying that this is in the top 100, but now that it's only that player, okay, yeah, this is a lot worse. It's a legendary creature, which means it's also a commander, which means that you could just keep doing this over and over again to really just mess with people. It's also just really frustrating too, because right, if a bunch of people tap out and just do a bunch of stuff, and then you're like, okay, play this, it's like they're locked. And so it's not land destruction, but it's land destruction light, if you will, right? Because they can't like play with the lands anyway. So I can see that being annoying. Is that like the most annoying thing? Like you're telling me that, you know, we're ranking the top 100 here.
What are the chances we hit number 1 out of a random number generator on the very first one?
There's no way this is number 1. There has to be things that are worse than this. This has to be. But like, how far down do I go, right? Do I try to play it safe and go into like the 50s or the 60s? Is there way worse things than this? So it's like, you know, 80s, 90s. Maybe this card is really annoying and it's actually like in the 20s, 30s. Who exactly is rating this? Is there like a committee that's rating these?
Players.
Is anyone?
It's
just
a
players.
lot of players. Anybody who wants to. The internet is doing it.
Okay, and players think they know everything.
They do.
Players who work in card shops seem to think Trap Dust Shoot's a bad card, but that's a different story.
Watch your channel for that one.
It's top 100, so these things are annoying. I would say if this wasn't a legendary, I feel like this would not be nearly as annoying, because since it can be the commander, you have a lot more agency as to like how annoying this can be, because it just keeps going back to the command zone. My instinct for this is I'm in like middle to like low middle, and by low I mean higher number, not lower number. So I'm kind of in like the 60s for this, like maybe 70s.
You don't think it's that good? You don't think it's that
I think
oppressive?
It's annoying. I think it's annoying, but I feel like you've shown me a lot of cards, and I've seen stuff that I feel like is way worse than this. And I think this first one's really going to set the tone. I think that's what makes this really interesting. The first card's really going to dictate how the rest of my influence is going to be. Because if I think this isn't that salty, and it is really salty, that's going to sort of like shift the barometer of how I have to evaluate everything else. And people don't like messing with their lands, but you're not destroying their lands, but you're also preventing them from letting them do things. Maybe it's a bit higher.
Man, what's worse, having the thing destroyed or having it sit right there in front of you? Useless?
I think destroyed is worse. I think destroyed is worse.
Okay.
I think destroyed's worse. I think I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna go with like 68.
68.
68. I'm gonna go with 68.
68.
Now you have to do math. Your favorite thing ever.
I do. I have to actually do work on these videos instead of just throw an image at you and laugh. Well, that is the first guess in the game, and it's going to be pretty rare to hit any of these bang on, but the question will always be like how far off in most cases. And in this case, the rank of Hikori Dusk Drinker is number 22. Number 22 most saltiest card in the game.
What?
Yeah, 22.
I'm gonna get cooked. Oh my god.
It's on.
Do you agree with that evaluation for the record?
There are some things that you said that I don't agree with. I think Commander players do hate even more when the things are in front of them, but they can't use them. I do.
Interesting.
I do.
Okay.
And I think that the command zone nature of Hikori is particularly damning. But cards with this effect that really limit the number of lands you can use a turn are despised. And of course, because it's somebody's commander, they can build around it, right? They can run a ton of artifact mana. They can basically cheat the system. There's a way to get lands that tap for more than 1 mana. They can build with those in mind. Yeah.
I feel like everyone was playing those though anyway. That was kind of my sense from what you told me.
There are some of them that have like downsides and things. And also, you're going to have to adjust to the casual mindset. This is being voted on by the masses, not the people playing the spikiest, bestest things, not the combo players.
Scale is what you're saying.
This is being voted on by the kitchen table casuals, baby. And they don't like having to sit through a 3-hour game where they got to untap 1 land at a time. Honestly, this was a banger to get up front because this might have hurt a little bit, but I think it
gives me a better sense moving forward.
Exactly.
It does. Okay. I am on your personal salt scale, would you rate this card this high? I know you were not the mass that voted on this, but I'm curious, like, if you were ranking this from 1 to 100, like arbitrarily, where would you rate this yourself? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, that's a great question because I've never made my own scale. Maybe I should someday, but I think it would make top 50. I think it would.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I will tell you, this effect is not common. There's more effects that blow up all lands than restrict what untaps. And I do think players, like I said, I think players at mass hate it more. I think they hate it more.
Interesting. That's good. That's a good lesson to learn. All right. We started off rough. We gotta climb our way back in because this is gonna be we're at 40 something for our first one, so this is gonna be rough.
Oh man, dude, you know this card. You've already seen this card.
I have?
Yeah, this card that's coming it's another white card.
Okay.
Where do you think players put Smothering Tithe on the list?
I have seen this card. I do know this. For people who don't know it, which is all of you, because you're all Magic players, 3 white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2, and if they don't, you create a treasure token. See, like, okay. This is where it's like the maybe it's a difference in mindsets. I feel like this. Just personally, I feel like this is more annoying than the other thing, but that's just me. That's just me. I Yu-Gi-Oh player, so granted we don't have lands and resources to do things. I feel like this card's way more annoying, but that's just me.
Way more annoying. Okay.
Way more annoying. Yeah, I mean, granted, the other card stops you from playing the game entirely, right? So I guess that's maybe not completely fair. But this one I feel like just gets so out of hand. And again, it's like, how common are these types of cards? It's hard to say. I know this is a newer card because I think you told me that previously. Wasn't this like a card designed for Commander?
Actually, no. You might be confusing this with another card because I don't think I said that about this one. This one originally came out in Ravnica Allegiance, which is the date is 2018, I believe. Yeah, new. So it's kind of new in Magic terms. It definitely came out. It came out after Commander was formed, and it was certainly a card that was considered very medium in other formats, but then really caught on in Commander, and people certainly learned how powerful it was in Commander. Yeah.
What was Hokori 22?
Number 22. Yep.
I'm writing this down so I have my own
good idea.
list I can fill in, so I can kind of like see where these cards fall. Okay. I feel like this. Okay, so now that I know where like Hokori rests, I feel like this card is probably going to be below that, because now we have like a anchor. We have something to compare this to. I feel like this card is annoying, and no one's happy when this card is played, but it doesn't stop people from playing, and that's a big difference. And I think that means it's going to go down quite a bit. So maybe this is like where I thought like Hokori is. Like maybe this is just like, yeah, it's annoying, but like what? They're just like going to get the stuff, and it's like, so be it type of thing. It is a not commander type of card, so like they have to also like get to the card somehow, whether they tutor it or draw it or whatever. Yeah, maybe I put this like where Hokori was. Maybe we'll go like, let's go. What am I feeling for Smothering Tithe? What am I feeling?
Would you pay the 2?
I'd have to be in a game. I feel like there's too many variables to answer that yes or no. And I think that's the correct answer from someone who's smart.
Never pay the 2.
Oh, is that the actual correct answer? That's funny. 74.
74.
74.
You were just
74.
talking about how you thought it was close to Hokori. You changed your mind.
Yeah, Hokori, I said like 68 or something, didn't I?
Oh, yeah, that's what you said. I thought you were going by what it actually was.
I meant my old evaluation. That's what I meant. I think if this is going to go the way I think it's going to go, the stuff that is giga oppressive and prevents people from playing the game is probably going to be towards the top. And the stuff like this, where it's annoying, but you kind of just let it happen, I feel like these types of cards are probably going to be more towards the bottom. If that's my hunch, and I'm going to be completely wrong after I say that, because I already see you getting ready to just completely laugh at that evaluation. But go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I should be nice about this, because you're closer than you were for Hokori.
Yeah, but it's going to still be like 30 something.
Yeah, not by much. It's 30. It's exactly 30.
Oh my God, it's 30. I'm so good.
Smothering Tithe is 30, which means you have a difference of 44.
Wow. Okay. Well, we've probably already just lost this game. Great.
Wow.
Unless other people are just as bad. Wow.
No, Smothering...
How are these two cards that close? That's crazy.
Smothering Tithe, I think the part that people like realize once they played against it a few times. First of all, Smothering Tithe has been reprinted a number of times, and it is a more modern card by Magic standards coming in Ravnica Allegiance from the Commander era. So it gets played a lot. It's easy to put in a number of decks. It's only 1 white mana, and it's at that number.
I feel like if you're playing white, you're playing this, right?
Yep. So that's got to be a part of this. Cards people see a lot increase how annoying they are. Cards that have effects on every stage of the game, like, do you pay the 2? Do you pay the 2? Do you pay the 2? How about you? Do you pay the 2? Every card you draw, which was supposed to be a good experience for you, now you're asked a question. And like that is frustrating. And the correct answer is usually just don't pay. Because with Smothering Tithe, it's too much to pay and you fall behind. And then you realize after you've played against Smothering Tithe a few times, the player who plays Smothering Tithe basically got like endless mana. 4 mana, endless mana. That it annoys you while they do it. It so often leads to the win because they usually just generate more mana than the whole table. It's an incredibly powerful card in the format. Like, it's amazing. And I think that its place on the salt score, one, you should take away. People do not like being asked if they'll pay the whatever.
Okay. I'm learning a lot from this.
They hate that.
Yes. Okay.
And then 2, it's a ubiquitous card. It's been reprinted a bunch. It's in a ton of decks. Almost every white card could play it. Almost any card that has an annoying factor, and 2 is so good it should be in almost every deck, is going to land on the salt score because people get sick of it. They get sick of it.
What's going to be at the bottom half then? Because like I was just like, oh yeah, all the like super unfun stuff's going to be at the top now, and like this stuff like seems Okay, like I guess what's number 3? Maybe I'll find out with this one.
Oh my goodness, we'll find out. But I'm sure.
Smothering Tide 30. Smothering Tide 30, right? I wrote that down.
Yeah. This is.
Do you feel like which do you feel is worse between Hikori and Smothering Tide?
Oh, as a card for a game, Hikori. 100% Hikori. That makes the game terrible. Smothering Tithe is annoying, but like I find people with socials, like with my friend group, I try to use the social skill of, so I try to find something.
Hikori.
But I try to find something fun to say with Smothering Tithe of like, yo, yeah. It still gets annoying, but like it's not as annoying. And there are some decks that need big mana to do big mana things, and Smothering Tithe enables them, which it makes it more fun. But I still think I get why people hate the card, and there's a lot of decks I don't put it in because I'm doing content, and I don't want to have to worry about Smothering Tithe in this game. This is another card I showed you. If I remember, you didn't think it was very good or interesting.
Oh, that's not a good sign. Oh, that's the case.
And let's see if I remember. It's first. Another 4-mana white card. I'm telling you, this thing is rigged. Let's do it.
Humility. You did show me this card. 2 mana and 2 white for an enchantment. All creatures lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 1/1. I'm so gonna get cooked in this game. Cody. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to mention that this card has not been reprinted.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
I'm trying to just weigh this in my head. So Hikori prevents everyone from doing everything. Not fun. Smothering Tithe, one person gets infinite mana, basically. It doesn't prevent everyone from playing, but it's just the social element. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the salt scale here. Humility has more of like the Hikori vibe. It's more expensive than No, it's the same as Smothering Tithe. It's just 2 white though, so it's maybe a bit harder to justify. Hikori's a commander, so like that's whatever.
I'm sure you can imagine. It
hasn't been reprinted. You said it hasn't been reprinted,
right? I believe so it's maybe reserve
now
list.
This is maybe that's
it
when
is
we're starting
list.
to get to lower. Okay. So maybe now we're going to start getting into lower tiers because people haven't played against this as much because it's reserve list.
Well, I can give you the price, and that can help because sometimes the price is like a really good indicator. I would say over $100 is like the kind of cards that maybe people have never seen. This is a
$50 card.
Yeah, this is a $50 card.
Okay.
And
right. Smothering, say commander players have bottomless pockets, so that also sometimes doesn't matter.
Yes and no. Remember, this is getting voted on by the masses. So I would say I'm giving you things that might help you. I'm not saying this to mislead you. I would say things over $100 are less likely to break up near the top. There are some rare cases where they are power outliers that I think you'll identify. But usually like the $100, the $80 to $100 is a barrier. $50, like Smothering Tithe at times has cost $50, for example. So yeah, this is probably in that range.
How much does Hikori go for?
Not that much, like $3 or something.
Because Smothering Tithe goes in everything. That's probably why it's $50.
And Hikori is super narrow.
Right. It's almost like you're playing it for a commander and nothing else.
Yeah.
So I think I said this before. Yu-Gi-Oh has a card similar to this called Skill Drain. It doesn't make everything have no stats, but it just makes it so that everything has no effect. It's a trap card, stays up permanently like an enchantment. So you can use it reactively when your opponent does stuff. Skill Drain's always been a card that people hate. It's just been a very annoying card. So like our equivalent to this is also quite annoying.
And also in Commander, like where everybody has 40 life, making everything a 1/1 is basically guaranteeing that this game is...
The game's going to go on forever.
This game is stupid, yes.
Yeah. I feel like of these two, well, granted my previous strings of logic were not correct, so take this for what it's worth. Take it with a grain of salt, if you will.
I
feel like of these 3, this is probably the least annoying. I feel like if it's annoying, but I feel like it's the least annoying of the 3 because like your stuff loses abilities, but you still are able to do everything else that isn't creature focused. And that's assuming no one has a way to like remove this either, but you can't really make that argument for everything.
I love that. Like, you're like, well, you can still do other things. They came to play Commander. Commander is a format about building around your legendary creature.
I think the problem is I played too much Yu-Gi-Oh! And just like our cards are just so different that it's like I'm coming at this from the complete wrong angle, which is why I'm just getting demolished. So at this point, I should try to go for the highest score. That's what I should actually do. It says reserve list, but it's a lower cost reserve list card.
Some of the later sets,
I guess like control decks would probably want to play this card. I'm trying to think of like what decks want to play this, because Yu-Gi-Oh! This card's functionality is a lot different. 82.
82.
82.
82. Final
82.
answer.
Final answer. We're going all in.
Dude.
Highest score, baby. Highest score, baby. Let's go.
Oh my God. It's
something has to be at the bottom.
No, this is number 28.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
This is worse than Smothering Tithe?
Just slightly. It's kind of this. It's close to the same as Smothering Tithe. Yes. That is a new record for you. 54 off.
Great. All right. Yep. Highest score, baby. Let's keep it going. Keep it going.
Dude, white enchantments are apparently very despised, and your kryptonite. Yeah. No, humility, you kind of got near it, like near the very end there with like creatureless decks want to play it. People hate those decks anyway, but yeah, there are like commanders that are like Shorikai Genesis Engine is a legendary creature, but it's a vehicle, which means it's not a creature most of the time. You have to turn it into a creature. So they'll run, cool. Yeah, they'll run Humility in Shorikai because they still get their commander because Humility just affects everybody else. Go Shintai, like there are shrine decks that are all about building a bunch of enchantments that do all the hard work and damage for you and draw you cards. And yeah, Humility, shut down all creatures. Dude, this card is so oppressive. I feel like I tried to tell you that when we did the video that we did together, that this card is like nasty. I
understand, but it's like, just destroy it. Like,
okay.
Like, I know, like it's just like, yes, it's the amount, like, again, I'm making the analog to skill drain for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, yes, skill drain's annoying, like I know, but it's never like, I don't know, it's if you had trouble with those cards, I can't wait. This one that we just hit is so good. How many cards are in Magic? How many unique cards are in Magic, roughly?
Like 27,000 something.
Something has to be in the bottom half here. So, like, what is it?
Draft commons. Obviously. So that is one of the weird Magic things. I don't know if this is a thing in other card games as much, but Magic, every set is like 80% just bad cards that are only playable in the draft format.
Oh no, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about 96% bad cards.
Oh, okay.
And we don't have a draft format, so
anyway,
yeah, the more you know. Anyway, please tell me it's not a white card.
No, it's not.
Okay, I haven't seen. What the hell is this? Crater Hoof Behemoth, fun name. 5 and 3 green. Oh my god, this guy's expensive. For a 5/5 with haste. Don't see too many of those. It's probably why it's on the list. When Craterhoof Behemoth enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and gain +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control.
Have you seen Craterhoof?
If I have, I don't remember it. This does not look familiar.
Okay.
Let me think. So you play this, it has haste. Creatures you control, that would include this, gain trample and gain +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the number of creatures. So if you have like a million guys, because you guys don't have a limit on how many cards you can have
Correct.
out. Where we do. So that's a difference. So if you have hypothetically 10 guys, this becomes a 15/15. It has haste and it has trample. Is this until end of turn? Okay. And this counts itself, so at least it gets 1. So it's technically like a 6/6 if it resolves. But Humility,
it wouldn't even trigger with Humility because,
I know.
No abilities.
Well, see, that's where skill drain's fun, right? Because like you play Craterhoof, you can actually use skill drain at like instant speed to like stop this. So they have to commit into it.
Got him living in the past. We're in his head.
So this to me seems like a game ender. Like this to me seems that you play this in a, like when you see game, And you probably have, how would this work? You would have like a bunch of things. So probably more than 10, honestly. You'd probably want to have like 1 million guys. And you play this, everything gets buffed, and you want to have some things from the prior turn that, or if they do have haste, that you played them this turn. But let's say you have like 2 guys from the prior turn, and then you play this, and then everything gets buffed by 1 million. And now you have 3 guys that have 1 million attack. You go attack, 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 and you just like win the game. That's like, I think that's kind of like where my, that seems like very Yu-Gi-Oh! Like esque in a way. It's like you just have like this big thing, and you'd be able to do this like on turn 2. It's a lot of mana though. So either there's a way to cheat this, which it's not an eternal format, but it may as well be. There's probably ways to cheat this. There's all the mana ramping stuff you can do. So maybe you can do this a lot quicker. Maybe you just play this because it's like a win con, and it's like, if you see it, cool. But I feel like there's probably ways to tutor this. If you're playing green, that you would want this. So maybe this is sort of like Smothering Tithe in a way that like most green decks play this as like a win con. And it's like not maybe the main win con of the deck, but it's like a secondary or tertiary win con that it's like, oh, if I need to go into this guy, like I have it as an option. But like where? But it's like, okay, let's go through the hoops. It doesn't prevent the other players from playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't give someone infinite mana. It's telegraphed. It can be countered.
Mm-hmm.
It can be destroyed. So removal stops it. You have 3 other people to stop this from happening. Have we finally found something that's on the low end of the list? Have we finally found something that's on the low end of the list?
That's where you
surely
put it.
This is it. Surely this. I'm trying to run. Something has to be down there.
I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, if you let them acquire a huge board of stuff and then play this 8 mana card, how can you be salty about losing, right?
Correct. But these are Timmies we're talking about that are doing this. So in their mind, they're blaming everything else besides the fact that they let a Crater Hoof just kill them. In my mind, that's how I'm seeing this.
Yeah.
There's no way that this is up there with the other 3. I refuse, especially now that I've seen the density of these 3 together. Okay, especially now that these are together, there's no shot. If you tell me this is like 6, I'm actually probably just going to quit mid video. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, all right. Well, what's your shot? What are you saying?
85.
85.
I counted the mana cost, and I put in the 5 from its at the power and toughness.
All
85.
Right. 85.
85. I think this is the least oppressive thing that I've seen.
Well, it's been a fun video, but I guess you'll have to keep playing because it's a 92. This is by far the best you did.
We finally got one. Okay, all right.
Basically a win. Yeah, when you're with, I think within 10 points is a win.
I think you're a win. Yeah.
A+. Yeah, Crater Hoof is a really funny card. I think the only reason you can justify its existence on the list at all is it ends so many games. I don't think any card has ended more casual games of Commander than Crater Hoof Behemoth.
Really?
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Every deck that like tries to in casual Commander is very common. Whether you're a typal creature deck of trying to play all the creatures of a certain type, or just a deck with a lot of unique creature abilities. But decks create wide boards, and then there's usually somebody or multiple people in the pod that run Crater Hoof Behemoth. And this is a good note for the future. Green creatures are easy to tutor up in green. There are a lot of different ways to search your library for the one green creature that does the thing. So when there is a green creature that does a very specific thing, like end the game, like Crater Hoof does, it's not that there aren't other cards in the game that exist that pump all your creatures and make you do big attack. It's just that Crater Hoof is the best. So
the best one at it.
Yeah. So everybody who's willing to pay the $30 to $40 for a Crater Hoof goes and gets a Crater Hoof. Yep.
That much.
Yeah. Okay. And searches it up, and it has probably won more games of Commander than any other card in the casual
That seems like a
sense.
fun card. Seems like a fun card.
It's my wife's favorite card. She's just like,
okay.
this is the game. I do the thing. I play all my cute little creatures that I love. Then I go and get Craterhoof, and we don't play anymore. It's over. Now I get to leave, and all my stuff is fine, and you got attacked and died. It's her favorite card by far. But number 92 on the Salt score list.
Okay.
A little surprising to me because my brain is right where you are, but you definitely sussed this one out very well.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm kind of surprised it's even on here at all, to be honest. But okay, I think what you're saying about how often it's the game ender, I could see that. Yeah.
Yep. I think if you've played Commander for over 5 years, you've lost a Craterhoof so many times that you are probably like, when somebody plays a Craterhoof and starts doing the math of whether or not you're all dead, you're just like already picking up your cards to go play.
Right, next game.
Next game, please. Can I just not be here? Thank you. Yeah. It happens. Oh my goodness. Oh,
please don't be another white card. Please don't be another white card.
It's another 8 mana card.
Oh. What the hell? Obliterate. That's a word. 6 and 2 red for a sorcery. Can't be countered. Love that. Destroy all artifacts, creatures, and lands. They can't be regenerated. Oh, goody, goody, goody. Goody, goody, goody. Fun. This looks like an old ass card. Is this reserve list?
This card is not reserve list.
Okay.
It hasn't been reprinted much. I'm sure that,
how much is it?
I'm sure the text says enough. On TCG Player, you can buy an Invasion copy, which was in the like 90s, 2000 something, 2001, 2003, maybe 2001, for $2.74.
Okay, so this card is not hard to acquire, is
Correct.
What you're saying.
Yep, any budget berry can run an Obliterate in their Commander deck.
It's obviously on here somewhere. We know that people don't like getting their lands blown up, so big red flag. You argued, and are probably correct because you actually play this game, that it's worse that if people have their lands and can't use them than if they're blown up. But is there other cards that are similar to Obliterate that maybe do Obliterate better, that are maybe cheaper? Because, yes, it destroys literally everything. Not everything, but, because it doesn't do enchantments, I guess. There are some things it doesn't, but for the most part, it gets most things, let's say. It can't be countered. So there's no way to stop it from happening. It's in red. I feel like I can probably go out on a limb and say it's probably higher than Craterhoof. That doesn't say much considering Craterhoof was 92, if I recall what you said.
Remember, it's also artifacts and creatures and then lands, and it can't be countered. I'm honestly, I'm looking at this card like, oh. I
was going to say, this is like your worst nightmare. I think for me, granted it's Commander though, like you guys can get up, you can ramp up so much easier.
Yeah, we didn't talk about cheating out the Craterhoof. I did want to say something about that. It is common to ramp up and cast Craterhoof in casual Commander. Most of them don't need to be cheated out. You just tap for 8. That is not weird in casual Commander. See, these are the lessons. We have to teach these lessons if he's ever going to play Commander with us, so he doesn't just show up obliterating things.
It's so tough. Well, it depends if I want to make your life miserable specifically, but it's tough because, I think I'm fixated on the cost more than anything because, yes, it does destroy everything, but I'm pretty sure... What's the thing? I think you showed me... Is it Armageddon? Mm-hmm. Is that the thing that just blows up all lands?
Yep.
Right? That costs 4, didn't it?
Armageddon, member of the Power 9.
Right. But that's not... Is that banned in Commander or is that legal?
It is legal in Commander. It's on this
legal
list.
in Commander. Oh, okay. So
somewhere.
We might see it.
You might see it.
Yeah. So I feel like... I don't know. I feel like Armageddon's better just because it's cheaper and maybe that's wrong.
I would agree that Armageddon is better, if that helps.
Just nukes everything. I guess I'm just trying to think about the decks that want to play this card. I feel like there are very specific decks. I'm not sure this is something... I don't think you jam this in every deck playing red. It just doesn't feel... it doesn't feel like something you, okay, I'm going to play red, I'm going to play Obliterate. That it doesn't like give me that vibe. But Craterhoof, every green deck's playing it and it's 92. So I don't know if that's necessarily the right path of logic to be following.
It's weird. There are things. So yeah, being rated by the community, I will tell you, I've never played against Obliterate, and I haven't seen somebody play Obliterate. I guess you have to also put yourself in the mindset of if you were a casual player and you had never even seen this card, but were asked to rate on whether or not it would make you salty, does the read make you be like, oh, do I want to be in that game? How would it feel if this were on the stack? Not will they get to cast it, not will they get to 8 mana, not is there something better? How does it feel when they go, Obliterate?
We know too much, CGB. This is the problem. Our minds are wired differently. Mm-hmm. So I have to undo all of that conditioning over the past 2 decades. Maybe I go middle of the road with this one to be safe. It still does destroy everything, though. It'd be annoying. People don't like having their stuff touched. Let's do 38.
38.
38.
38. Erring on the high side. Okay.
I'm leaning higher because it is destroying lands. So we'll see.
This one really shocked me. I
don't like that.
Yeah, I guess maybe I even underestimate how much people hate the amount that they hate land destruction. But for you, it's not going to be your worst performance. This is number 21. Number 21.
Really? It's just one above Hokori. Interesting.
It did shock me, but not bad. I mean, you'll take a 17.
Yeah, it could be worse. Could be worse.
You are zeroing in the game, so things are moving in a good direction. But yeah, Obliterate, I wonder how much is the can't be countered. I will tell you, there's going to be a number of cards on this list that destroy all lands plus other stuff. I imagine. How these got ranked, I can't, like I said, I've never played this card. I have to imagine this is casual players sitting down, reading the card possibly for the first time and being like, oh no,
not my lands.
And not looking at it from that's twice an Armageddon. They're looking at it from it's already cast in their mind. And that's how they rate it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's find the
I mean, like I said,
one.
not my worst performance, but I'm shocked it's that high, to be honest. Oh no!
Finally, a blue card.
That's why he's laughing.
Let's go.
Watch, I'll probably get this one like within 5. What the hell is this? Urza Lord High Artificer. Artificer? Did I say that right? Okay. 2 and 2 blue. Legendary creature. Human Artificer. I don't know why that's like hard for me to say. 1/4. So can be a commander. Got to keep that in mind. When Urza enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each art. I'm just saying, you complain about Yu-Gi-Oh cards. This is quite a lot of text, buddy. Okay. So Fair. He comes in, you get a token that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So that counts itself, so it's a +1/+1.
You get this guy. You get this boy.
Yeah.
There you go.
It looks like something out of like Mass Effect or something. Never thought I'd be making that reference.
There are many different tokens you can get for all kinds of vibes.
That must be nice. In Yu-Gi-Oh, they don't print the token respective to the token generating card for like 10 years, if ever.
Nice.
Which you would think they would, be on that. But anyway, tap an untapped artifact you control. Oh God. Okay. And then at a 5, shuffle your library, then exile the top card until end of turn. You may play that card without pay. It's the casino. Oh my God. Okay. I love this card. This is cool.
Yeah, this is your guy.
Apparently I'm in blue. I think we've solidified that if we are playing at one point, I am in blue.
It's going to be a blue mage showdown. Let's go.
All right, let me break this down again. So you play this guy, you get a guy.
Yeah.
You can tap the guy, but okay, this is a weird question. Can you tap the guy that you just played? Because it's a creature, so it would have summoning sickness, right?
It's a great question because the ability is not the creatures. It is Urza's ability. So, and it is open-ended. If it said if it gave the ability to the construct to tap for a blue, the answer would be no, you can't tap it the turn it comes out. Because it's on Urza to tap the construct, and because it's an open-ended ability without a tap symbol on Urza, that means yes, you can tap your artifacts, even artifact creatures, for blue the turn they enter the battlefield. So yes.
And I thought our game was complicated. Okay. And then you can pay 5 to spin the wheel.
Yep.
So, oh my God. Okay. So I can already say this is a Yu-Gi-Oh card. This is like 100% a Yu-Gi-Oh card. This is crazy. I think I have to play this guy. Ideally, you're trying to get some sort of engine or something built up so that you have a bunch of artifacts that you can like continuously tap to keep generating mana and then untap and just keep doing that. So you can keep just spinning the wheel and doing the fun thing. And I feel like people would fucking hate that, because it's one of those instances where everyone else is just sitting there watching you do 500 actions to continuously shuffle your deck and then flip the card and then keep doing that over and over until you do whatever it is you're trying to do to like ideally win the game. Right? That's where I see this going.
Yep. Cardboard masturbation. 100%.
Yep. That's what my Yu-Gi-Oh brain tells me. 100%. And I feel like that would piss a lot of people off. I feel like just sitting there, if I've learned anything from you, sitting there and like watching people, do the thing, that people don't like that because that's not fun, social experience and all that. But let's look at what else we've dealt with so far. Does this prevent the other people from playing the game? No. Does this blow up lands? No. Does this make everything have no abilities? No. Does this, all of the, again, if we're going from the mindset of the Timmies are the ones like evaluating this card, it's almost like I want to put this lower, because I feel like unless you have like a million games of Commander under your belt or you don't know card games, I feel like this card could like kind of fly over the radar of like, oh yeah, this card's like really strong, but like the salt is not as high. I could be wrong in that assessment, but like it doesn't have like the typical obvious red flags of like destroy land, right? It's like you need to know card games to know like why this card is good. I feel like, not that I'm saying everyone who rated the cards on this list doesn't know card games. Well, I feel like the power is sort of the power is sort of like obfuscated.
You need to play against it. And
a lot of people, like, you need to play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, a lot of people who are rating these may not have a lot of games against it, and there's a huge amount of variety in how the format works. So playing against your brother-in-law's Urza deck isn't the same as playing against a CEDH Urza deck.
I feel like this might be a leap. This feels like a CEDH card to me. I feel like there's like some dumb, crazy crap that you can do with this card.
I'll answer that. It's had its time as a CDH commander.
Oh, it has. Okay. Well, I know, because I mean, usually the cards that I'm like freaking out at are the Yu-Gi-Oh! CEDH cards, though. Oh man, he looks so fun. Look how cool he looks. This art is sick. Okay, so I need to balance the obfuscated ridiculousness that this card has for potential, weigh that against destroy all lands and make it so that there's the no fun allowed. Or am I just completely off and this is like in the top 10 maybe? Like I don't know, like it's possible. 44.
You reached deep into your soul for that one, huh?
I counted the mana numbers and I saw the 4 in the toughness, and that's what we're going with.
44.
I think I'm putting it a bit lower than I want to, because I feel like it doesn't have the immediate, because it doesn't prevent the opponent. It's more like Craterhoof than the other cards in my mind, where I don't know if that's going to make any sense. My point being is that it doesn't like prevent the opponents from doing stuff, but it's like a way that you're probably going to win the game by like doing the thing that you're trying to do, and that's like not fun. And I feel like it's very powerful, but people can still do their thing. And so I think it just gets lower as a result of that. But I could be wrong. This card could be like 5 for all I know, and everyone hates this card into oblivion. So.
I think you've done a really good job with the card. Urza is interesting because it's one of the cards that you can most point to as there is no nice way to build Urza. There's a few of these commanders in the game that you look at and they're so cool and you're going to build it, and you don't want to, maybe you don't want to build the CDH version, but you want to build a version that is more like to the play group that you can play with your friends, and your friends will be, and you'll sit down and you'll say, I built Urza, but it's not that Urza. It's not the evil Urza. It's just a bunch of constructs. It's just a bunch of artifacts. And then you kill everybody on turn 4 and they didn't get to do anything. And you're like, oh, well, darn. There's just no nice way to build a card with this as your commander, unless you put like no artifacts in the whole deck or something, because it is
hard mode.
Artifacts in general as a strategy in Commander are very explosive, like incredibly busto. And this is one of the best artifact commanders ever made. But I think that where it gets its salt is you have to play against the nasty Urza. The nasty Urza runs a bunch of artifacts that say, while this artifact is untapped, good thing happen. And it taps them during the opponent's turn for mana, so only you get the good thing. There's some of those exist in the game, and it is, oh my god, it's fucking infuriating. I am a blue mage. I don't play that Urza. I feel bad playing that Urza.
I have morals.
Exactly. And in this case, I do think that influences the score, because if you've played against that Urza, this gets a high rank. If you haven't, it doesn't, you're like it said, it doesn't stand out. It looks like it's not doing any of the red flag things. So the rank for Urza is 56. You were 12 off. Yeah. 12 off. Almost a hit. Almost like a hit. So we'll take those. Well, I
was going to say, in those instances, like Urza is the enabler, but it's not the thing doing the salty thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I feel like if I saw the artifact that does the salty thing, that would make more sense. But I know it's the Urza deck, so I think people they kind of conflate the two. They're like synonymous with one another. So interesting. I don't know. I might be bringing Urza if I come play, buddy. We'll have to look out.
We can do some powerful stuff. Let me show you some other commanders that are considered salty. This is one
is this my next
This
card?
one is flavorfully salty. First black card today, I believe. Oh my goodness.
I'll let you know I'm not going to play Hokori. That's not my vibe.
I promise you, I wanted to show you this card. I'm so happy right now.
Really? Okay. What the fuck is that?
It's a giant slug horror.
Toxrill the Corrosive. 5 and 2 black for you're right, it's a legendary creature slug horror. 7/7, or in theme with the 7s here. At the beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Slime counter on each you don't control, okay? Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. And then for a blue and a black, you can sacrifice a slug and draw a card. I like how we're just like painting this picture of how we're going through all this work just to draw a card.
Okay. So before you dive in, there's something I should have talked about with Urza, and there's probably already a bunch of comments. Urza is called an outlet in the command zone in competitive terms. This means if you have infinite mana, if you acquire infinite mana, you can play your commander from the command zone and then sink the mana into its ability. In Urza's case, you draw your whole deck and cast it for free, right? Because you're paying 5 as many times. With Toxrill is also an outlet. If you can combo infinite mana, Toxrill is a slug. It can sack itself to draw your whole deck.
That's so funny. Let's walk through it again.
Mm-hmm.
Everything gets a slime counter at the end, beginning of each end step. That's each end step. So everything you don't control at the end of each end step gets a slime. That's a big difference, because that means everything's getting -1/-1 every turn. So in a full turn cycle, that means everything is theoretically getting -4/-4, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then when those things die, you get slugs, and then you can sack the slugs, use some mana, and draw a card. Where do I start with this?
Well, I'll start here. It's a newer card. Sure. It's in a set called Crimson Vow in 2021. And
when you said newer, I thought you meant like this year. I was like, wow.
2021 is very new. It's
so recent. Yeah.
It is a mythic rare in a newer set, and the lowest price without a reprint really that's available. The lowest price I see is $17.
Okay, he's a few bucks. He's a few bucks. The mindset. You're at a table with your friends. Someone's playing this, and the life of all of your precious creatures is being drained from the table. Costs $7 though. It's kind of pricey.
You're doing it again. Stop looking at the price.
No. The cost.
I know. Stop worrying about how much it costs to cast. It's Commander.
I feel like that matters.
It's Commander. It's all.
I guess it's just
pretend it's Yu-Gi-Oh. It's all free.
Okay, dumb question. This has to be in play for the effect to be active, right?
Yes. In fact,
you don't like it because it's in the command zone. This isn't like already active because it's in the command zone, right? That's like a dumb question.
Right.
I bet.
No, it's not a dumb question, but that is right. Another thing that I think I didn't realize till I played it. Creatures you don't control get -1 for each slime counter on them. They don't get the -1 on their own. The effect of the slime counter is tied to Toxrill, right? Because Toxrill is what's giving them -1/-1.
Right. So Toxrill's not in play. The counters aren't. They're there, but there's the stat reduction isn't taking effect.
But when Toxrill comes back, the stat reduction comes back. Yeah.
Right. I did not think otherwise, but I appreciate you pointing that out. Yeah, I'm thinking of. It's sort of one of those things where, everyone has their things, and I could see this pissing people off because if they're playing a deck that plays a bunch of, it's kind of like, what's the card? The Crater Hoof thing, right? If they're playing a bunch of guys and the guys are small, if they're 1/1s, 2/2s, 3/3s, whatever, people can't. If this card comes out, those decks just physically cannot play the game. They're incapable because their stuff's just going to keep dying nonstop. And I imagine every deck has a handful of cheap cards that have, let's say, less than 2 to 3 health that are going to just constantly die with this card being out in any capacity.
I'll also give some context on -1/-1 counter, like -1/-1 effects. So there are a bunch of things in the game that are like destroy all creatures. But if something has the indestructible or is granted the indestructible ability, which is pretty popular, then it survives that destruction. -1/-1 counters don't care. If the -1/-1 counters get on the creature and its toughness gets below 0, whether as indestructible or is given indestructible, doesn't matter. It's still gonna die.
Oh, is that tied to counters specifically, or if there's a card that's like give something?
Yes, the effect of -1 gets around indestructible.
That's kind of cool, just mechanically. Yeah, I like that.
It's sneaky. It's sneaky. Well, slugs. How bad could it be? How salty could a big old slug be?
I think this is like the hardest one I've seen yet. It's just making it so that things that have low health are just going to die, just nonstop. And if a lot of people are playing decks that play creatures that are very cheap to bring out, then this is like their worst nightmare. That said, depending on the group of people that you're playing with, like, yeah, sure, this card might still be able to take out larger things eventually, but this has been like the thing I've been least impressed with so far. Like, in my mind, I feel like this should probably go below Crater Hoof. I'm not going to put it there because I'm seeing this from the Timmy lens. I'm seeing this from the Timmy lens of, if you play against this and like your deck doesn't get to do its thing because this card exists, like, you're going to be infuriated at that being the case. But it's not as obvious as saying you can't untap lands, everything's getting nuked. So it's in between. You can't play the game, but you have to like read and experience it to realize you can't play the game, sort of thing. So I feel like I want to say it's lower than Smothering Tide, but maybe higher than Urza, but that sounds crazy because like Urza to me is maybe one of the craziest cards you've shown me in my Yu-Gi-Oh brain.
This is a real challenge.
Out of principle, I almost feel like I can't put it above Urza just because of that. So I feel like I'm going to put it lower. So maybe I go somewhere in the middle. I'm going to go, you know what? It's been going poorly so far. 77. Final answer.
77.
Yes, I like just going based off the numbers that I see.
So I was wondering if you would get there on your own, because one of the reasons that I brought up how the counters work is that in a Toxro game, you have to keep putting slime counters on creatures and keep them on creatures even when Toxrill dies, which adds what I believe the real salt level of Toxrill is: the accounting, keeping track of everything's slime counters throughout the game. Because
especially if there's like 40 creatures on the board, it's like...
And even if Toxrill dies after just one upkeep, you have to keep track of everything that has a slime counter. And you know what? I built a Toxrill deck. It was pretty early in my Commander experiences. I played it with my crew, and it was not a game that we recorded. We were just playing to see like what we thought of new decks and Commanders. Sure. And at the end of that game, we were all like, yeah, nobody liked that. It was a miserable... It's one of the very few cards that like I've played with them that was like, no, that's not going on the show. We're not doing that ever again.
Okay.
And I think that this being a newer commander that is kind of a big monster is a lot of people trying it out. I think that this went through a wave of popularity, and that's probably why it's all the way up to 44 on the list.
Wow. Okay.
I thought you might get there. Near the end, it sounded like you were going to go there.
The thing is, I think you have to realize Yu-Gi-Oh! We do have a few effects that have counters, but compared to your game, it is not nearly to the same degree. So I think just like that manual dexterous action is something that is just so foreign to us naturally that it didn't even really cross my mind that that's so tedious, especially not even just one-on-one, but then when it's 4 people, that didn't even cross my mind until you said it. But as soon as you did, I realized, yeah, I could see that just being a nightmare.
Yeah, it was. And if you've ever played Toxrill, leave a comment about how you do the accounting. Oh my goodness.
So it's 44, you said. Okay.
44. So
I should have went with my gut and put it over Urza. That's crazy. Yeah, that was like my initial reaction.
I thought you were gonna get there. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna nail it. 33 point difference. You've had worse. I have had worse. Not a death knell. Let's see what comes next.
It's funny that Toxrill was also my 7th card, by the way.
True. 7 mana for the 7th card.
Yep.
Oh, baby.
Aura shards. 1, a green, and a white. Some neat art. Enchantment. Oh, God. When white enchantments have gone so well so far. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Enters the battlefield under your control, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. People probably don't like that because people don't like getting their stuff destroyed. Also, if I recall, a lot of artifacts are giving people mana, so people probably hate getting their soul rings blown up because they want their mana to be able to do the thing. So it's not land destruction, but it's like kind of land destruction in a different way, maybe under your control. This does stop people from getting to do their thing, or at least at the speed that they would wish to do their thing. I don't know if this card being multicolored affects its rating at all, because it's like more narrow in the type of deck that it goes in. That could be potentially a reason. I don't think this is the first multicolored card I've had, because I think I've had every color now. So
no, I think that's right. Yeah, I think it is the first multicolored one. It's a good question. I'm gonna.
I had 1 red, I had 3 white, and then Toxrill was the first black, and then Urza was blue, and Craterhoof was green. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking around, it's not weird for multicolored cards to get good scores, but it is kind of all over the place. It definitely affects the number of decks it can go in.
Sure, of course. It's just a lot more narrow that way.
There are a lot less multicolored cards on the list than mono or colorless cards. That's for sure.
I think that just makes sense naturally. I wonder how much that affects the rating on this, though.
Do you think this card doesn't
do anything? I think in the right deck. I think in like the Craterhoof deck, right? That's going to play a bunch of stuff. I think if you're playing a deck that plays a lot of guys very cheaply, and you have this, here's a question: If there's an effect that plays 2 guys at the same time, do you get 2 activations of this, or is it only 1?
2.
Okay. In Yu-Gi-Oh, it would be 1, so that's why I'm asking. weird semantic difference with our game mechanics there. This is weird. I feel like you play this and start blowing stuff up, whether it's early, mid, or late game. Ideally early to mid game, because I think you'd want to probably just stop a lot of the crazy ramping and stuff in the beginning with like the artifacts that ramp, or just any other annoying artifacts that people are playing, right? I feel like this is the problem with this is that it's dependent on how many other artifacts and enchantments people are playing. Because if they're not playing a lot, this card gets way worse. But I feel like a lot of these decks probably are, which is why this card is good and probably why it's in the salty list. And people hate when their stuff gets stopped. But again, I think I'm looking at this like I'm over analyzing it to the point where it's just gonna get me completely wrecked in my score more than it already is.
What does your
I'm
gut
gonna go
say?
lower. I'm gonna go. My gut's telling me to go lower in the higher numbers, just because of the fact it is a 2-color card. It does stop people from doing the thing, and that definitely seems to be, looking at the list, everything that is above 50 is something that stops people from doing the thing, and everything below 50 does not, in our small sample size of 7 cards that I have. So maybe this is like probably the least oppressive out of everything, though, I will say, that we've seen so far. So maybe it's still, maybe this is the first card that is stopping them from doing the thing, but it breaks 50. So maybe like 63?
63?
63.
63. 63.
63.
Aura Shards does stop the thing in some ways, but I think in the Magic player mindset, and let me know if you agree in the comments, when you're trying to figure out who the good guys are and the bad guys are, I think that the creature players always see themselves as the good guys, and there are more of them, and the artifact and enchantment themed decks are the bad guys.
Okay.
Trying not to use the battlefield. And I think that contributes to this good guy, bad guy mentality around Aura Shards being a number 94. It is quite a ways up there. Yeah, 94.
I wanted to put it lower, but I thought just with the trend of stopping the thing, I was afraid to actually put it too low. Mm-hmm. So I actually hedged against that, and I think I got punished for it. So 94. I think I was going to put it like below 80 before I was like looking at my list here. So 94, got it.
All right, 31 spots, not your worst by far. Actually, in your top 4, right there. But don't worry. We've now like put up spots, flags all over the map to look at as we go into just 2 more.
We saw the big gaping hole between Urza and Craterhoof, so we'll see.
Indeed. Oh. This is a funky one. All right. Let me get this image up for you. We're going to do it.
Please don't be white. Please don't be white.
It's not white. It's not white.
We're good. Oh, it's red. That might be second worst. Ruination. I like these Easter Island head looking things here. 3 in a red sorcery. Destroy. Oh, God. All right, here we go. Destroy all non-basic lands. Okay, so to clarify, this is going to be a very dumb question. Yeah. Basic land is straight up just plains, mountain. Those are basic lands, and everything else is non-basic, correct?
Yep, the 5 basic land types: plains, island, swamp, mountain, forest.
Second question.
The fundamental, the building blocks of the game if you're a new player. Good old
Second
basics.
Question. This card looks old as hell. Is this reserve list?
Is this reserve list? It is not reserve list.
Okay. How much is this card?
You can get a copy at about $5.99.
Okay. That tells me that since it doesn't cost 3 cents, that this card actually probably does have some demand. It's older though, so it could also just be a supply issue to an extent as well.
It is. It's a rare from a pretty old set, Stronghold.
Okay. And it hasn't had recent reprints, I'm assuming, considering you showed me this version.
It is in a very weird exclusive product called Mystery Booster 2 that came out last year, but you can only get them at conventions, so I wouldn't count that.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Oh, it was in the Commander 2011. It was actually in one of the Commander decks in 2011.
Oh, that's
LOL. Funny. What are they doing? Okay.
I feel like I'm going out on a limb here. I feel like the non-basic lands are better than the basic lands. Just a hunch. the hunch?
There are many things I could say. I don't want to hand it to you, but I do.
Yeah, don't hand it to me. Yeah, don't hand it to me.
Okay.
I just have a hunch the non-basic. I've seen a couple things that are not from what you showed me. They just seem very good from what I've gathered.
Yeah.
And the fact this costs, like, see, in my mind, this versus like Obliterate, right? This is closer to Armageddon almost in a way. It's not everything, but I feel like in this format, our basic lands, you're allowed to play any number of those still, right?
Yep.
Non-basics though are still one-ofs.
Yes.
Okay. I imagine that was the case mechanically, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to play games, but everyone's probably running like every good non-basic land they can, and then the few basic lands that they probably need for some reason, or like to fill in the gaps because they don't need other stuff, or they need some colors. I feel like people hate this. To me, this feels worse than Obliterate, but am I going to put this card that high on the list? I might. It's not destroying their creatures. It's not destroying everything. What's like the visceral reaction? Because like the Timmy reaction is destroying everything. Whereas like the non-Timmy reaction is this basically destroys everything, but it also doesn't. This card feels, especially because it only costs. I keep looking at the cost, but I feel like that does matter to an extent, especially with this card. It'd be funny if you play a deck that plays basics and you play this and then you're completely unaffected. That'd be funny. You also, there's still the artifacts and stuff though. So like you aren't like completely out of luck.
I will say a lot of the popular green ramp cards only get basics.
Okay. I want to put this one high up. I don't know if I want to put this higher than Obliterate. I think the Timmy mindset of getting everything blown up is a much stronger negative experience than just the non-basics. Because if players are already established and you're nuking all non-basic lands, that's good, but that you still have to deal with the established board, right? So I think that sort of like knocks this down a peg. Now this can be degenerate if you do it early and then like no one gets to play the game, and that's not very fun. So I still think this is probably up there. Maybe this is in the 20s or 30s. Could probably see it. Let's go 36.
36?
Let's go 36. 36.
Well, if I didn't lose you before, I might lose you now.
Oh no. Don't tell me this is like 90 or something.
This is 87. Guys, well, I think Ruination I think it has a complicated history. I think over the years, this has been much higher. I would have to go actually consult the list, and maybe if there's an EDHREC salt score expert in the chat, you can type this out. I'm confident.
Oh, that's every commenter. Sorry, that's every commenter.
Yeah, of course. All of you, please. I'm confident this was like a top 20 card not that long ago. But
okay,
the interesting kind of development. And I think this comes from a place of, honestly, budget players. Yes, this is the part I wasn't sure if I should tell you. Non-basic lands are better than basic lands. They're also way more expensive. It is not at all unusual for the lands portion of your deck to make up the majority of your budget. And for whales, it can be like almost 80% of the budget of the deck can be the lands.
Wow.
The amount you can spend on getting awesome non-basic lands for your deck to try to get every little bit of advantage is very high. Like, it's crazy how much people will spend for the tiniest bit of advantage out of their lands. And I think that the budget community crowd that doesn't want to have to buy $400, $500, $800 worth of lands for their deck says, you know what? You should run more basics. And they get cards like Ruination. And I think that that's why Ruination has fallen so far down the list. I think it's like a budget counter to this mentality, because everything you said about the deck is right. But when you take into account the casual player, and this is why I tried to throw the one thing in that, like, a lot of popular ramp cards just get basic lands. So a lot of the casual player just wants to ramp up and do their thing. They don't need non-basics to do it. But those people who show up with the blinged out, like, $1,000 deck, whether or not that deck is actually 10% better because of those lands, it feels like the money bags are being, basically trying to pay to win you. And it feels good. Sure. It feels good to get them. It feels so good to get their $200 of non-basic lands in one card times 3.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting.
That's my theory. Right. Any other theories on why Ruination is this high up when mass land destruction is so frowned upon? I will hear you. That's my theory. If you agree, let me know in the comments.
Well, it looks like our goal of getting the highest score is going quite well. I can't wait to see when this is all over.
Somehow that wasn't the worst one you've had.
That's impressive, honestly. Truly.
It's second. It's second only.
Well, I've got one more opportunity to redeem myself in that regard. So
yep, this is it. Let's see what we got. And let me find this image. What is this card? Interesting.
Oh, that's a good sign.
Interesting. Sometimes I get really surprised. It's okay.
Man, you're not kidding. What is this card? Possessed Portal. 8 mana for an artifact. Oof. If a player would draw a card, that player skips that draw instead. At the end of each turn, each player sacrifices a permanent unless he or she discards a card from his or her hand. What the hell is this? This is just like the no fun card. I guess depending on like what kind of individual you are, but
I don't know. I've never had the pleasure. It sounds so terrible.
So they don't draw, and then each turn sacrifice a permanent. End of each turn, each player sacrifices a permanent unless he or she discards from his or her hand. What kind of weird card is this? Like, how does the game?
Old designs are something else. This is from Fifth Dawn. Fifth Dawn is an older set. It's not like the oldest set.
What happens if no one has any cards?
2004. Well, you see, eventually they have to sacrifice. Whoever played this has to sacrifice this permanent.
Oh, the portal, and then the game sort of resumes from that point.
We may just sit there looking at each other until nothing is left but this.
This
and then
seems
this
miserable.
goes away, and then we start playing again.
Horrible. This seems so miserable. It costs 8. I keep looking at it, and it obviously doesn't matter, but it's just like I have to naturally look at that.
I guess at that point in the game, I'm evaluating this with you. I've never seen this. At the point that
it's impressive you've never seen this. That's hilarious.
At the point that you pay 8, there should be a lot going on, right? So it takes a long time to get down to nothing.
Right. That's how I feel. And then on top of it, they get to choose what they're sacrificing / discarding, which is never good on top of it. And like you're hitting 3 people with it because each of them are doing it, but you're doing it too. So it's not even like it's asymmetric, right?
And
you're also sacrificing stuff
each turn. So it's such an acceleratedly miserable experience if nobody can remove it.
Right. But so by the time it comes back to you, that means each player has either done some combination of discarding up to 4 cards or sacrificing up to 4 permanents and then hasn't gained anything from their draws, and they can't draw.
And they didn't do anything to the board with 8 mana. So if anybody else, if the other 3 players have a board, assuming they don't like this, because why would you? They can just beat the holy shit out of you. Just kill you.
What a weird card. Weird art, weird card. Everything about this is weird. And you're going to say this is like fucking like 28 or no, it can't be 28 because humility is. You're going to say it's like 27 or something.
You think so?
No, I mean, I'm saying you're going to say that. The fact that you haven't seen it, that I feel like that should hopefully give me a clue that this isn't that high. And this is like some niche random thing. It's like, okay, here it's the classic, my inclination says like this card is bad. But that's not what matters here. I've learned.
Oh man. It would be fun to go through the like list of cards you saw today and just be like, what's the worst card here? And of course it'll be one of the highest rated ones.
I know. The fact it's an artifact too, I feel like people have to have artifact removal if artifacts are as good as you're saying they are. So that like makes this even worse in my mind. I feel like if it was an enchantment, maybe that would be slightly better, but I don't know the game enough to make that determination. Wow, this is a way to end. if we're looking to get the highest score possible, this is probably the best card it could have been.
Yep, that's how I played golf with my sister as a 12-year-old. Highest score possible, baby.
I can't. I want to put this low, but then Ruination was 87, and I'm like, there's no way that this is higher than Ruination. Like, I'm sorry, there's no way. But it is. It probably is. It probably is up there. I'm gonna need like a therapist after this, to be honest. I think like everything I've learned about everything has just been thrown into question.
Best game ever,
73.
baby. 73.
73. 73.
All right. Let's see what you got here. 73. This is. But
before you say it, if this is above 50. I'm done. I'm just straight up done. If this is above 50, I'm leaving. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, higher ranked than 50. So you mean like 40s, 30s? So, then you're never going to play this game again. My first try will be my last try. Okay. I honestly had never seen this card. It's only been printed once, and it's not on the reserve list. And it's obviously not printing it again. I think that what gives it the rank it got is the mentality of you pay 8 mana, you play this, you smile at your friends, and they're all like, okay, we're going to kill him, right? And they do. Because this is only 95.
Okay. I guess my inclination was correct to put it below Ruination, because I'm like, there's no way this is better than Ruination. But yep. In my mind, I could just see the Timmies just seething at this card and them not having a way to answer it. And then everything evaporates, just dissipates right in front of their very eyes. And there's nothing, they can't draw, they lose everything. And then it just keeps going. The cycle doesn't stop. And I could just see people getting royally just infuriated with this card. So I
think there were some clues. It's one printing only. It's non-reserve list. It is a rare, but it's only $2, which tells me that there's like not many out there, but also no demand. Like nobody's putting this in decks.
I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. This card should not be in the top 100. Just period. If you would have like just lied, I would have believed. Like, there's no way. There has to be something better than this for 97.
I didn't realize it cost 8 until you said that, and I was like, oh, I thought it was like 4, 5. I didn't look. I just didn't. Yeah. I was just reading the text, and then you said it was 8, and I was like, this card is such a stupid meme. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm gonna do some math. Why don't you lament quickly on what you learned today and how awesome and fun it is?
Did I learn anything, CGB? Did I learn anything?
You tell me.
This might be my worst performance since the price video we did. I gotta be honest with you.
It's hard to understand to remove one's mindset from the deeply entrenched competitive card game understanding mastermind that you've trained to be your whole life, and sit down at the kitchen table and just try to think about how little Jimmy will respond when you play Possessed Portal.
I think I need to go on a journey of spiritual awakening in like the Tibetan mountains or something, and really rediscover and reevaluate everything I've done in my life up until this point. That I gave Possessed Portal anything above a 90. But
in a way, we're just, what we're highlighting is just how special you have become. What a rare bird you've ascended to being.
Truly.
And in your first outing playing the CovertGoSalt game, you have the current high and low score as the only first person to play this of 317.
So I win. No competition.
You have currently won, and I can't wait to see how my friends stack up in the leaderboards. Probably by like the end of a month or two. I'll have like seasons. We're gonna invite different friends.
I'm gonna say this: 317 sounds like a lot, but if you think about it, if you get a few that are just like on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, that adds up real quick.
Oh,
like if you get a couple 70s or 80s off, like if you think something's 10 and it's 80, that actually is. I'm coping. I know you're coping well. Here,
your highest differential is 54. So like on a scale of 1 to 100, it like when hitting an 80 would be a lot worse. So yeah, you didn't do that.
It's like if someone gets 10, 20 point differentials, they're like almost where I'm at. I'm just saying. So we'll see. As long as I beat Raren, that's the only thing that matters. At this point.
We will find out. And to you in the comments who stayed, feel free to play along with these and let me know you're totally not edited or made up scores in the comments, because
they would never do such a thing. They would never do such a thing.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. I'll let you know in the future how the leaderboards line up and if you get a special salt shaker from me.
I'm going to go salt my eyes now after what I just experienced. Thank you for having me. I'll be back next week, I imagine.